Bears, blog, boys, you know it all, computer, analytic, geeky nerds. Michael Schneider, Tom Cavanaugh, the Bear, blog, boys, know-it-alls, doing some podcast somewhere. Nobody wants to hear you. Geeks, you pencil-pushing, skinny jean-wearing geeks, you.
Coming to you live from our mom's basement, this is the Bears Blog Boys podcast. I'm your co-host, Tom Cavanaugh, here with my good buddy and other co-host, Michael Snyder. Snyder, couldn't be more happy, man. Another victory Monday/Tuesday, since we're recording on a Tuesday. The Bears are with their fourth win in a row right now in a pretty dominant fashion. Buddy, how are you doing, and how was your viewing experience watching the Bears dominate the Saints?
Incredible. 4 wins in a row, Tom. We haven't been able to say that since the 2018 season. To start 0-2 though, and like during our dark days, and you can go back and listen to some of our pods. The vibes were dark, man. It was really bad. But for this team to come away with 4 wins, in the fashion that we're playing, when it's still the operation isn't smooth. Come away with a 4 win streak, I think says a lot about the coaching, the culture, and just the impact that they've had. So that being my main takeaway, Tom, in this 4-game win streak, I couldn't be more happy because that hasn't been the case in so long for the Bears. So again, for me, the vibes are up. Viewing experience was good. Went out to my buddy Brian in Arlington Heights, took that road trip out there, had a lot of good eats. The vibes were right.
Yeah, I mean, it was it got a little close right after the first half, but really it never, outside of the second touchdown the Saints scored, it really never felt like this game was ever going to go in the Saints' favor. And that was with the offense not clicking on full cylinders. I think there was a lot of encouraging elements of the offense, but it's still crazy that the Bears were able to kind of dominate this game and keep it out of reach with not even playing their best football. There's still so much room to grow. And they even said that. I think DeAndre Swift said after the game, we haven't played a clean brand of football yet, and they're still finding success in different ways. It's really funny, Senator, because we'll talk about it in more in depth. I thought the first couple games, the Vikings game was kind of weird. I couldn't really say that for that, but the Lions game, the Cowboys game, and the Raiders game, I feel like the passing offense was really what kept the Bears on track. And in those games, well, not the Lions game, but I thought the passing offense was the best part about them. It really hasn't been the case after the bye week. And the Bears have really found a lot of success on the ground. It's when one's doing well, the other one isn't.
Yeah.
And I'm just really excited to see when both of them can be on track. Okay, how good can this team really be?
Exactly. And then, just diving early into the game, you get an early turnover, and then you only come away with 3 points. I feel like that's been the same story this entire season. It's the defense have been giving you gifts, or the offense is giving you gifts, but then you get a penalty, or you get a rough sack, or a bad exchange from the center to quarterback there, and you're getting those gifts, but then you're shooting yourself in the foot and you're only coming away with 3 points, or you're getting yourself out of field goal range. I feel like that has been happening a lot for this Bears team. It's good. Thankful for the 4 win streak, but it's some of these wins, if you get the most out of those gifts you were given, we would be in so much more control of these games to where it wouldn't be as close as it's been. And I get it, that will get cleaned up. The operation will become more smooth, but it's just knowing that, hey, we can take control of these games a lot sooner, control the script, and on the run games going like that, now you have control of the clock, control of the game. So again, once we get handed those opportunities, I would just like to see it, us kind of, take advantage of that to really get ahead. And we haven't seen that yet. And hopefully that aspect can also come together.
100%. The Bears had a lot of opportunities. I think off their 2 turnovers, they did end up kicking 2 field goals. And in those situations, you really want to see those them punch those in for touchdowns
Right.
and totally put the game without a reach. And yeah, and I think that was perfectly said. Like, they just haven't been able to finish up drives as much as we'd want them to. I think they've done enough to obviously win these games, but still, there's still a lot of room for improvement. And I don't know. I obviously want to talk about positive because the Bears did win this game in somewhat dominant fashion, I think, in the ways in which they won. But I want to start negative and maybe end positive on the offense side. Everyone's kind of talking about Caleb Williams' performance. I was very discouraged by it while watching the game, but going back and watching it, it wasn't maybe as bad as I thought. I think that the same issues are prevalent. I think he's just missing too many throws. Like on the interception, I like that decision. I thought that was the right decision. It was against basically they were playing cover 6. They're in quarters. They're giving him a ton of room on the sideline. It was an outbreaking route. I like the decision. It was just a bad ball too far inside, and the defender was able to make a play on it. I thought the defender made a good play in general. Like he may have broken it up, even if it was a good ball. But like just the inaccuracies, I still think are giving him trouble. Like even on some of the plays where he was extending and scrambling around, he's just off on some of those throws. So that's, I think, still his biggest issue. I think maybe like the next issue is that he's just a little too late to things. But that's kind of, I expected that to happen. This is a new offense. He doesn't know it like the back of his hand yet. So I'm not expecting him to run it with like extremely precise timing on every single play. But really what he needs to clean up is just putting the ball where it needs to be. Because even on some of the completions, it's like, I think last week this was more of an issue. And like catch and run situations, he's not putting in a situation where receivers can catch and run. And it's like those little things are holding this offense back from being at its like running on full cylinders. And that's what I want to see from Caleb and him continue to improve, because I think he's making good decisions. I think his eyes are usually right. But there's just the inaccuracies and sometimes the timing of everything, I think, is throwing him off and this passing offense off.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like you can't you can't say anything about Caleb Williams, right? Like we're not criticizing him in a way that like we're out on him, or it's not like you're hitting the panic button, because I think what Caleb has done this season, he's shown that the floor is high with him, that he can do a lot of the little things right. Like I think so far this year, his ability to stay in the pocket has been really well and go through his reads and just kind of give what the offense has taken him. But then you see at times like, hey, he can do special things with extending the play within the pocket, even his running ability. So I think he's doing a lot of the hard things right. A lot of the easy things right. And, it's just been a little bit underwhelming so far because, when you look at it, yes, he was the number 1 overall pick. And it's always going to be talked about how, like, he's probably playing at a level closer to Bo Nix, to where you got like Drake May and Jaden Daniels kind of playing above him, right? To where Bo Nix and Caleb Williams are kind of just along for the ride, and you just want to see more. And I think that's a fair take, right? Now, can this keep growing for Caleb? Can it get better? Yeah, absolutely. Ben Johnson has said he's throwing a very complex offense at him. And, at least that offense is working, right? And once Caleb does get better, you're going to see the maximum results of that. But, yeah, thus far, it's, kind of just seems like Caleb has been along for the ride. I think, the Lions game was his best game thus far. And from there, it's kind of been like, slightly above like game manager who can like make some plays with his feet. And yeah, I think, you just want to see a little bit more.
Yeah, I totally, that's a fair way to put it. I think game manager is right where he's at right now. And Bo Nix might be a fair comparison. I think the encouraging element of Caleb is that I think they put a lot more on his plate from an offensive perspective. Like Bo Nix's offense is as like training wheels as it gets. That's not the case right now. Like they're asking him to do a lot of difficult things. And like I thought, and this was my expectation, right? Like I never thought this was going to be something that would just hit the ground running. Like I knew it was going to take time. I knew there was going to be growing pain. So I'm not too discouraged. Like if this was year 3, week 10, then maybe we're having a different discussion. But like I knew this was going to take time. And to the Saints' credit, I thought they did a lot of good things on the passing defense. Like something Caleb doesn't get credit for, which no quarterback really gets credit for, is getting their offense in the right plays. That usually, like, there's 2 plays that are called, and the quarterback has the judgment to check to one play or keep the original play that's called. And all the run checks that Caleb made, that's why the Bears ran the ball so much, because the Saints were in so many soft coverage shells that they were giving run looks, and Caleb doesn't get credit for that, right? For checking back into those runs, and the Bears just absolutely mauled them on the ground because through hell or high water, the Saints were going to stay in these soft coverage shells, not give up anything deep. That's what Brandon Staley likes to do. It's what he's always liked to do, and the Bears took advantage of it, right? Like, I thought, obviously, the Bears' offensive line played well, but the looks were there to totally exploit them on the ground, and we saw that. And that's something Caleb does not get credit for. So, but again, Caleb has that judgment. He has that freedom to check into those run plays. And I thought he did a very good job of that. The entire offense did. So, yeah, I don't think there was like this situation where there was a bunch of guys running wide open. There was a play here and there where maybe Caleb could have got back to it, but like ultimately I thought it was a tough, they made things tough for him in the passing game, tough for this offense, because they just kind of made him be patient and take the underneath things. And yeah, I think you'd like to see Caleb do that more often than not. And in this game, he didn't do that. He was, I think, trying to big play hunt a little bit like that, or a little bit more than he has so far in the season. But ultimately, I still think that like I'm not too concerned. Like I think this will come along to where Caleb is playing at like an above average level.
And that's the thing. It's not a concerning level where he's playing bad. Like, is he putting the ball in harm's way? No. Is he locked into one wide receiver so the defense can key in on? No. Right? Is he not going through his reads? No. Right? Is he bailing a clean pocket and not throwing to what's there? No. It's just like some things to where it's like, he's not taking that shot downfield, or, it's just like, or he's not like just ripping it into tight coverage, like taking chance. It's like things like that you want to see more. Like, I think there was a play you showed me, Tom, where he had Loveland really deep, and yeah, you had to throw with some anticipation there, throw it through the coverage, and he's not taking that shot. And then you see him, in games past, he misses a Dunze wide or doesn't take that shot, and that's just the frustrating thing.
Yeah, those are the frustrating plays. I think they're fewer than I only showed that play because I wanted to show Loveland. I think that was a tough play for Caleb to get back to, because the concept, like that was like an alert play where, like, if he had the look that he wanted, he could have easily gone to Loveland, but I don't think he did. The Saints kind of disguised it well. He tried to read the concept on the other side of the field. By the time he would have got back to that, both of the Bears tackles already lost in pass protection. So I wasn't trying to I understand what you're saying, Senator. There were plays like that on the field, but I wasn't trying to highlight Caleb's negative plays. I was just trying to show Loveland's positive plays. And we'll talk about Loveland because I was really, really impressed with him this past game. But yeah, no, there are plays like that for sure, Snyder. I thought more so in this game, it was the underneath stuff. Like, just be patient and take what the defense is giving you. Like he did, and it wasn't like it was every single play he's big play hunting. But I thought, like, whenever he had kind of an ounce of pressure in his face, he was resorting to running around and not just taking what the defense is giving you, take what's underneath. And in this game specifically, where the Saints are just kind of playing for the explosive plays, I thought it was important that he did that. And unfortunately, like, I thought that was probably the biggest downfall behind the missed throws. So no, I agree with you, Snyder, though. Like he's not locking in on one read. He's not like looking lost. And that's why I'm not as concerned. Like with Fields, it's like, all right, we're seeing the same issues over and over and over again. I'm not seeing that necessarily with Caleb outside of the inaccuracy. And I'm hoping with the better, with more comfortability in this offense, with a better feel just from reps, that the inaccuracy will fix itself, because that, again, this wasn't like a problem of his in college. So I think it's just him kind of being comfortable and playing fast, playing with anticipation. There's a lot he has to do. And we can end the Caleb conversation, Snyder. The one thing that is inexcusable, the snaps, that happens way too many times a game. Like that just has to sort itself out. I know on the shotgun snap, that wasn't a good one, but still, like, it was in the range where you got to catch that, right? Like, that happens way too much. That shouldn't happen at all. And the fact that it's happened, like, I think 6 times now in the last 2 games, they got to work on that. And I was discouraged. Maybe they didn't show it on the sideline. I never saw them, like, work on it. It's like, okay, if it happens once, you guys should be on the sideline fixing your snaps right now. Like, that's something they got to address, because that happens way too many times. And it was killing the Bears. I think it was the difference of them scoring touchdowns on, I don't know, 3 different times. So that's something that has to definitely fix itself.
It's the thing, like, they've been getting lucky, right? With that, like, they're coming away, but, like, it's those things like, hey, you turn, 7 points instead of 3, the way that controls the game script and what you do for the rest of the game. It could be make or break there. I know that sounds obvious, but you're just leaving so many points on the board. So you're making these games a little bit too close, and the good teams are going to make you pay for that shit. And you got to clean that up.
Most definitely. I definitely think that's like inexcusable type of stuff, which is so weird for like a Ben Johnson offense, where like the details, like stuff like that, you never expect. So I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's because Caleb is playing so much more under center, and that's just new. And look, Dahlman snaps haven't been perfect, especially the 2 shotgun ones last week, or this week, and the last week after this, or before this week. I think they were both not great snaps, but still, like, that can't happen in a game, because in those meaningful moments when the game is a little bit closer, like we saw last week, that really could have cost them last week. They got bailed out by a fumble that ended up saving the game for them. That type of stuff can't happen. So that's something that definitely they have to iron out. But other than that, I think, I wouldn't panic yet. I think there was a lot more negative criticism, or not negative criticism, I guess a negative feel around Caleb from just my mentions of what I tweeted about him and stuff like that. I'm not like there yet. I'm not there to say like he's holding the Bears back. This. Does it need to get better? Absolutely. But again, I still have faith that this will get better. Again, this is this is his 5th game in this offense, 6th game in this offense. Yeah. Like there's going to be growing pains. Like, it wasn't ever going to be perfect from the jump. I think we'll see his best football down the stretch. So that's what I'm looking forward to. And he's got a really easy matchup next week. So we'll see. I think the Saints passing defense was actually tougher than given credit for. So that's kind of where I'm at. The positive thing, Steiner, which has been a huge positive coming out of the bye week, is this Bears run game looks legit. Like, this looks like a run game that can close out games for them finally, that they can lean on in situations when the passing game isn't working on all cylinders.
Yeah,
and
go ahead.
Sorry. Go on. Yeah.
220 on 2 rushing yards. 9.9 times out of 10, when you do that on the ground, you're gonna win the game.
Yes.
And it looks like it was very easy, right? The Saints are pretty good run defense. I mean, you got DeAndre Swift, 19 attempts, 124 yards, 6 yards per attempt. And you're getting Monangai, 13 attempts, 81 yards, 6.2. And you even got Roschon and DJ Moore, 1 attempt each. And Roschon had 11 yards, 9 yards. And you're doing that, and, you're not even utilizing Caleb in the run game either, right? So you could actually build off of that, maybe get creative and use Caleb there as well to keep making this rushing attack lethal. And what we're doing, Caleb is, having his growing pains, again, as we expected. But when you doing this on the ground game, the way it just wears and tears a defense to where Caleb doesn't really have to do much. They're just taking care of business. And, it was rough, maybe like the first 4 weeks of the season, but to see what it's become and how it's lifted this team and how it's carried it to a couple wins, it's just such a turn that we did not expect with this running back room. Ben Johnson told us not to panic, and he delivered on that statement. I mean, I couldn't be more thrilled with the way this rushing attack has been. I'll leave it to you, but it's been saving us. It's totally changed our season around.
I mean, this is everything you could have hoped it could have been, and why I'm so impressed is like I was wondering like off the bye week, I was like, all right, are they just gonna like completely change their identity in the run game? Are they gonna run more gap stuff? Are they gonna just be extremely like funky and hard to prepare for, like the Lions were in 2022 under Ben Johnson, where I thought like really their name of their game was just that they were so diverse that they weren't even that good of a run game. They were just kind of weird. They were like a weird matchup for teams to prepare for. That hasn't been the case at all. They have been extremely outside zone heavy, which is who they want to be. And it's looked as good as it's looked like the best rushing attack from an outside zone team in the NFL. I mean, not only is Swift, who is making me eat crow right now. He's been awesome in outside zone. I think his vision and his pacing and his tempo has just looked night and day different. Like that's probably something they really focus on the bye, where he's just so much more patient and reading it out correctly. But the offensive line, I just think like they look like they played together for 10 years. The way that they're combo blocking, everyone's doing everything correctly, and it's beautiful to watch. I mean, an outside zone run that's perfectly blocked up, that's blocked up how it should be, is as like beautiful as a football play as you'll ever see. And everyone is benefiting from it. The running backs, the blocking, and Snyder, I'll talk about Colston Loveland. He's a guy I think has made a huge impact in the run game since he's played more the past 2 weeks. If I had to give a game ball to someone on offense, outside of the running backs, obviously, Colston Loveland would be the guy I'd give a game ball to, because he hasn't been a focal point of this offense. He hasn't been a guy that's been getting designed a lot of plays for top 10 pick. He can sit there and bitch and moan because he's not getting the ball, but he hasn't done that. He came in, played on a full-time basis when Kmet got hurt, and I'm telling you, is doing all of the dirty work that, that really like grinder, put your body on the line, throw your body into blocks, chop blocking, coming across the formation, cracking guys. Like he's doing all the dirty work and doing it at an extremely high level. I mean, he just put on a clinic on Sunday as a blocker, and I thought that made a huge difference. I thought it was no offense to Kmet, I thought it was a big upgrade from over what they were getting from Kmet as a blocker. And there were just so many plays where he was so smart in how he blocked things up for this run game. It made a huge difference. So the whole team is playing well. I think Colston Loveland has added an element that they weren't getting in the run game from a run blocking perspective, and the backs have taken to it really well. Monangai also looked great. Just knowing when to cut it back, knowing which holes to exploit from this outside zone scheme that does give you a lot of optionality. So this is who the Bears wanted to be, and it's really paying off that this team is, I think after the bye, really focused in on doing things correctly to make this scheme work. And I think it's going to open up a lot of things in the passing game once the passing game starts to find more of a rhythm and more of a feel.
Right. I mean, Tom, you were on that before we drafted Colston Loveland, like the way he can impact the run game. I mean, there were plays where he was just taking two dudes out of the play and just letting Swift coast. You sent me a clip where, he takes out with 280-pound Cam Jordan, just wipes him clean out of the play. That's a tight end on a defensive end, of that size. Those are usually plays where the tight end gets blown up, right? And it just gets disrupted. The whole run operation gets disrupted and shut down. But, you're going to see Colston Loveland's impact not on the fantasy football side, not on this line. Like, you're going to see what he does, but don't get that twisted. Like, he also has ability to move down the field as special as any tight end in the league. And you want to see that, not that it's on him, but you want to see that connection with him and Caleb, or maybe a little bit more plays designed where you can utilize that, move forward with the mismatches. You see the impact in the run game. I just want to see him, get more involved in the pass game, because the guy, you sent me the clip, but he just moves different deep down the field. I really just want to see more of him, but then I also want to see more of like Luther Burden. Like, dude, like, and I'm sorry, like, no hit job on Cole Kmet or Olamide Zaccheaus. It's just so obvious when Colston Loveland and Burden are on the field over those two. The talent is just night and day, and the special things could happen from those two. I mean, if you can have the run game like that, then you have Rome, DJ, Burden, and Loveland. Like, this offense, and Caleb takes another step and grow. Like this offense can hit you in so many different ways with so many mismatches. Like that's what I want to see as we get further into the season. I want to see those guys really jump up the depth chart and make their impact known.
100%. For Burden, I think it's going to be harder for him to get on the field, just because I think there was more to work on with him, and they seem really like they love Zacchaeus. Zacchaeus is like a great role player and blocker. I don't know the extent of Cole Kmet's injury. You know, he left this game and didn't come back with a back injury, but I think when you see Loveland playing the way he is and being so unselfish, that's the best way I can put it. Just everything that he did was just totally unselfish. Like there were so many times where I was like, damn, like he literally just like chopped like a chop blocked like a 300-pound defensive tackle. Like there's so many plays where he's doing the things that really take a lot of grit. And I think you cannot take that guy off the field when you see that this guy is putting his body on the line for this team, and it's making a huge difference. I think there was so many times where they ran behind him, and it showed like that they were able to get as big of gains as they were. So I think these are the things that Ben Johnson wants to see from his players for you to earn playing time. And I'm not saying Kmet wasn't doing that. I just think Kmet's just not as good of a blocker. Just straight point blank period. It's not like I don't think Kmet has the effort and stuff like that, but Loveland I just think is better. He's just a better blocker. And I think when he's doing things like this on top of all the talent and potential that he has as a receiver, it's just going to be impossible to keep this guy off the field, Center. I think the correlation between the Bears having a better run game and them playing Colston Loveland more is absolutely like a correct correlation. This is not just a fluke. So I'm really excited to see him with more opportunities, and yes, design plays for him in the passing game. Burden too. Whenever Burden gets the ball, it's really, really dynamic. He's not playing enough snaps to really like fully gauge what he can do as a full-time player. So yeah, I mean, I want to see him. He's gotten more snaps after the bye week than he had at any single game. I want to see that continue. But I feel like if they would have made him more of a feature like role of, or focal point of this offense, it probably would have happened in a bigger fashion than it has.
Yeah, and that's fair. It's just, I like that they do at least make the effort to get him at least a couple touches a game. Mm-hmm. That's kind of what I expected, just because his role in college was so raw, and it's like I don't think he understands, like he doesn't have like the IQ or like the natural instincts that a vet that Zacchaeus has. It's just like one of those things. It's just like, I don't want Zacchaeus to have, 80 targets like he's probably pacing on this year to have, when I wish it could be like, maybe give him half of those, maybe, spread a little bit more to DJ and Burden there, or even get Loveland. Like I just would rather take away some of his targets and get it to the guys who are just more talented. It's not a knock on Zacchaeus. Like, other than the drop this season, he's been really rock solid, right? It's just, I just know with the other guys kind of had that game-changing ability there. And again, it's not something that I'm like, oh my God, Ben Johnson's terrible for this. It's just like a minor nitpick, just because you want to see some of the other guys display their talent, and you just kind of know what Zacchaeus is. Same kind of logic with Kmet. Not an indictment on him. It's just you just know that the other guys can give you a little bit more juice.
100%. And I will also say, Center, I know that Burden and Caleb haven't had a lot of time together. Or like you think they wouldn't have a lot of time together because Burden missed some of training camp with an injury. He was primarily with the second team. He wasn't playing with the starters. But I swear, whenever Caleb throws the ball to Luther Burden, he looks as confident as ever. Like that connection just seems strong. So I don't know. I think Burden is just the guy when he's going to be on the field, he's going to get the ball. It's just how much is he going to be on the field? How much do they trust putting on his plate? That's going to be the big thing for him, because there's no doubt he's probably the Bears' most dynamic player. I don't know if he's like the most reliable or consistent, but he's definitely their most dynamic, to where like, okay, he can do special things with the ball in his hands. He can do special things down the field. So it's just whether or not how much he can earn playing time. How much does the Bears want to take Zacchaeus off the field? Like I never thought this was ever a talent issue. This was probably just always going to be a slow process to get him on the field. But yeah, I could see a scenario, Snyder, when one of the Bears receivers get hurt and they put Burden on the field for more of a full-time role, and he's just too good to keep off the field once he establishes himself. Like I could definitely see that also happening. So it's coming. I think Luther Burden's time is coming. And I don't think a DJ Moore trade is happening, Snyder. I've heard nothing about it. I would definitely look into it. I think DJ Moore had a really good game this game as a blocker and obviously as a receiver, but yeah, I don't know if that's coming this season, but Luther Burden's time is coming. We'll definitely see more of Luther Burden. Senator, before we get off the offense, I thought the offensive line had a hell of a game. I thought Drew Dalman had his best game. Yes. You really started to see the reasons why they paid Drew Dalman come to light. His ability to get to the second level, his ability to reach guys, I think is just second to none. Like it's just perfect for who this offense wants to be. This is why they signed Drew Dalman. He's an amazing outside zone center, and we just saw him time in, time out, make the correct block he was supposed to, get around guys, and really open things up the middle. I think that was like such a huge surprise because the Bears had a lot of success running outside of the tackles last week. That was their most successful run. This game was totally different. They were running right up the middle. The cutback lanes were there, and they were just pounding it right up the middle with outside zone. And I think a big reason for that was Jonah Jackson and Drew Dalman had very, very good games. They were moving people off the ball, and they were getting to the second level and blocking up linebackers.
Yeah, and I thought, credit to Darnell Wright this whole entire season. I think he stepped up as a run blocker as well. And I'm not saying Theo Benedict had a good game at all because I don't think he was good against the pass. But the fact that it's not disastrous and you're not seeing anyone take over a game when lined up against Theo Benedict, I think you got to be thankful for it, right? Because you've seen guys being thrown out there and just getting dominated. And that hasn't been the case with Theo Benedict. I think credit to the running game, credit to the scheme, credit to the quarterback as well for not making that an obvious weakness that teams are taking over that matchup, because it hasn't been the case. So again, very thankful for that. And again, that's why you have Ben Johnson. Like he's gonna elevate guys that typically with most coaches would be a liability. I would take it back to Tom Thibodeau with the Bulls. He was like the king of that, like getting guys like your backup point guard like Nate Robinson, CJ Watson, John Lucas III. Like it just reminds me of that situation, to where he's making it work. With some bench guys that you wouldn't expect, and maybe getting the most out of it.
Yeah, 100%. I think this offensive line, maybe we were too quick to panic. I think they just needed time. I think they just needed time to playing with each other. I was concerned about how this would all gel together, but I think the interior offensive line were always better zone teams, or were always better zone blockers. I had a little bit of doubts about Jonah Jackson, but I think in 2023, you saw flashes of him being a good zone blocker. But again, I also want to give them credit too. You brought it up earlier, Senator. This was not a bad running defending team. Like this was a good run defending team coming into this game, and they completely blew them off the ball. And it was like this, they never made any adjustments. Like usually at half, when you have a very successful half on the ground, okay, you're going to start playing against the run more, keeping playing with heavier boxes and stuff like that. The Saints did some of that, but ultimately they just weren't good enough. Like the Bears were just better than them. And to have the luxury of, okay, this game's getting a little bit close, but we're just going to run the ball down your throats and there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, it's just a far cry from where this Bears team has been for a while. So I'm really excited to see this thing keep growing. Ben Johnson did throw some wrinkles in there with kind of exploring different schemes as well as the outside zone, but really that's the meat and potatoes and who they want to be. And it's looked as good as it can across the league for this Bears run game.
Yeah. Again, overall, very happy what we've seen this far about the offense as a whole. And you just think it's going to get better, but I'm ready to move on to the defense, because I think Dennis Allen called a hell of a game. I think he was super creative, and I think he really threw the Saints team off, and I'm really excited to dive into it.
Yep. This was Dennis Allen's, I think, best game. I think he had a really good plan for what he wanted to do with Spencer Rattler. And I really think it came down to, let's get him to hold the ball. If he cannot get the ball out quick, which he's been doing a pretty good job of. He has one of the quickest times to throw. I think a 2.66 time to throw, which is 9th in the NFL. If we can get him to hesitate for a quick second, we're going to like our chances in this game. Steiner, I'm looking at PFF stats right now. He had a PFF passing grade on throws less than 2.5 seconds. So he had 17 dropbacks in those situations. He had a PFF passing grade of 76.8 on throws that were less than 2.5 seconds. On throws that were more than 2.5 seconds, he had 15 attempts, but 20 dropbacks. He had a PFF passing grade of 30 and 3 interceptions on those plays. So that was really the game plan here. Let's disguise coverage. Let's make him hold on to the ball. And if we can get him to hesitate for that extra second, that's when he's going to be prone to mistakes. And that's exactly what happened. They didn't even blitz as much as they did the pass game against Jaden Daniels. But they did sprinkle a handful of blitzes in. I thought Jaquan Brisker had a great game in terms of rushing the passer. But really, I thought they just fooled him a lot of the times. They wanted him to hold on to the ball. They wanted him to extend plays. And we saw that's when he made a lot of his mistakes. So, and he took also some sacks there where he was fumbling the ball as well. So, I thought they had a really good game plan, Snyder, and you could highlight a lot of performances in here that led to the Bears' success on defense.
Yeah, and even the creativity. You got like 3 pressures from Jaquan Brisker. You were sending, I think, Kyler Gordon a couple times. Like, I just love the creativity of that there. And you had some guys that kind of step up on the defensive line. Javon Dexter is still playing very well. 3 pressures, 20% pass rush win rate there. Even had Don Robinson make some plays. And here, I know Montez Sweat, I think he's kind of been a little bit disappointing as it's like a one-on-one winner this year. But the guy just makes plays. Like, I don't know if I think he had a forced fumble or something like that, or a couple, whatever it was. Like, he's making plays that's kind of maybe offsetting his like underwhelming like one-on-one reps. So again, I'm kind of happy of what I've seen from the defensive line kind of step up. And then you got to give credit to Dennis Allen just calling games and doing everything he can with what he has.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Dennis Allen is a really tough defensive coordinator to go up against for young quarterbacks, and we saw that come to light. I just thought you saw Spencer Rattler just not trust what he was seeing. I felt like every time he made a mistake, it was because he didn't know where to go with the ball, and that's a huge credit to Dennis Allen. I think, Snyder, I talked about this last week. We could not understate how important TJ Edwards and Kyler Gordon are to this defense. I mean, it's just a completely different defense with them on the field. TJ Edwards continues to be a high-level player against the run and very, very good in coverage. I think he's PFF's #1 coverage graded linebacker through 2 weeks of him coming back. So having guys that are just like the focal point in terms of like knowing where they're supposed to be on this defense. And with Kyler Gordon, there's so much you can do with him. He's kind of the chess piece of this defense. I just think is so focal and it's so important and so crucial that we maybe understated that their struggles with just not having 2 of their best players on the field. And it's crazy to think, Snyder, that they don't even have Jalen Johnson right now and they're having all of the success. So I love Dennis Allen's game plan. I thought TJ Edwards was incredible in this game. He was so good against the run. He's been so good against the run in these past 2 games. I think that's been a huge reason why that they've been able to kind of solve some things there and they're not getting run all over. You said it best, Jaquan Brisker. I think they're finding where he's at his best, which has always been closer to the ball as a blitzer against the run. He was also really good against the run in this game as well. I know that Dennis Allen wants to live in too high situations sometimes, especially against those better offenses. That's how he wants to live. But I think the closer you play Jaquan Brisker to the line of scrimmage, the better results you're going to get. And we saw that, the last game, and we saw that in this game. So he's been great as a blitzer. He's been awesome against the run. Another big, I think, adjustment, or I guess it's not really adjustment. It's just kind of happenstance. Andrew Billings has played a lot more for an injured Grady Jarrett, and I really think that's helped firm up this run defense. I think Grady was really struggling against the run, and to have Billings, who just is going to clog things up and maybe not make a ton of plays, but just kind of make it harder for the offensive line to move our defensive line, has made a huge difference. So I think just a lot of things are coming together with this defense, and there really wasn't any like horrible performances. This was a team effort that led to such good results.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta give credit. Like, I was like one of the biggest people kind of criticizing like keeping Bayard around, and I thought his game was gonna drop off like age. Like that guy's got like this nasty instincts, very good ball skills. I think I read a stat when they had it on the broadcast that he leads the league in interceptions the past 5 years or whatever. So again, credit to the defense as a whole, like the back seven. Really impressed with thus far. Very impressed with Gervon Dexter and Andrew Billings. But like the fact that we're kind of getting this production, getting these turnovers, Tom, like we're not really getting much of like any pass rush juice outside of Gervon Dexter. And so the fact that the defense is doing good, Dennis Allen's calling the game, I think says a lot to him. I mean, I'm looking at the defensive line, like looking at the win percentage, like Deo 9.4, Montez Sweat 8.7, like, and then I think Deo one pressure on the whole entire game. Montez Sweat played a little bit better, but like you're not really getting like other than Gervon Dexter, you're not getting like your one-on-one wins in the pass. And I think that but the secondary in the back seven is letting you get away with that because and then the disguising the coverages and just being creative in there is kind of masking that. So you kind of hope that gets better one-on-one. There's a lot of data that says it probably won't, but if that can come together as well, this defense could be even better.
I was watching the Cardinals and Packers game, and I was literally thinking, like, imagine if the Bears had a player like Micah Parsons. The Packers probably lose that game if they don't have Micah Parsons, and that was their missing piece. I mean, I still think there's questions about the Packers offense, but like that's why you go out and do what they did for Micah Parsons. Why you give him 2 first-round picks and make him the highest paid non-quarterback, because like those guys tilt games. Like you cannot leave them one-on-one. And if you do, Micah Parsons has 3 sacks and the Packers win the game, right? And yeah, the Bears are still missing that guy. I think Dennis Allen has kind of found a groove with how to manufacture some pressure schematically. But again, that's harder to do against the best offenses, the best offensive coordinators and play callers. They'll find ways around that. But when you can just straight up beat guys or beat a team with rushing 4 over and over and over again, like that's what makes the difference from being a contender and not. And I think like we've seen teams who don't have that guy kind of hit a ceiling, right? Like the Bills, I think have been missing that guy for a while, and the Bears don't have that guy yet. Could they go out and trade for someone? I don't know if there's anyone to that caliber that will be available, but like a guy like Jalen Phillips, like I do think would be the best pass rusher on their team. Do they want to make that move? Well, who knows? I don't know if they'll want to make that move. It seems like he's available. But yeah, I think just moving forward, like that's going to be such a huge priority for this Bears team to find a guy that can tilt an offense, because they're missing that element. You're totally spot on, center. I like Gervon Dexter. I think if he was your number 2, you're in great shape. But like, I don't know if he's quite the dominant force or has that potential to be the guy that tilts offenses the way a Micah Parsons and other players around the league do.
And I hate to end this on like a negative, or trying to end this on a negative note. Like Montez Sweat, Deo, and Grady Jarrett are accounting for a lot of money, right?
Yes.
Let's say you keep them next year and you don't touch their contracts. Just the 3 of them account for $64 million against the cap, right? This year, Montez Sweat's 25, and you backloaded the Deo and Grady contract. So this year, they're only accounting for like 8 and 9 million, but that number jumps significantly next year. And at least with Deo and Grady, you're kind of stuck with it next year. Yes, you can get out of the Montez Sweat, I think, fairly cleanly, but again, I'm not trying to be negative, like Dennis Allen, the back seven, Dexter, Billings, like, and Montez Sweat has been making plays, but the one-on-one pass rush, like the underwhelmingness there, it's been very disappointing when you factor in the money that's there. When you get deep into these division matchups, when you get into these games that, have playoff implications, those like second and longs and third and longs, if you're not getting that one-on-one pass rush juice, that might be a reason, that's a game changing right there. That might be a reason why you don't come away with that win because you don't have enough juice. And when you combine that with like, damn, where you have so much money invested there, it kind of makes you really frustrated with the GM. It makes you kind of feel for the coaches, the offense, and that, what that back seven is doing for you, that you're not getting what you paid for there. And hopefully that could turn around or you get something there, or maybe you could add someone with some juice at the trade deadline where maybe you're only trading like a third or a fourth, and you're getting someone you can rotate on those, second and long, third and long. I think that would really help this team. But other than that, overall, I'm very satisfied with the product as a whole. And just, obviously I'm going to have my minor nitpicks like Caleb's play, the defensive line play. But other than that, I'm very satisfied with the operation thus far through, 6 games played.
Yeah, for sure. And I think they've found more success coming off the bye, like doing different things. Even when they're not quote unquote blitzing, where they're like bringing more guys you can block, just finding different ways to kind of throw off the protection. That was kind of what I was waiting to see. I thought they were pretty conservative for the first 4 weeks. And I think we're seeing more creativity, even when they're only bringing 4. It might be like an unconventional 4 that, maybe I've seen, a couple of the edge rushers drop into coverage and they're bringing a linebacker or a safety instead, like things like that to kind of throw off the protection and trick the offense. Because again, we've talked about, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but they just don't really have guys who can win one-on-ones at a high level. And maybe that could come in the trade deadline, but really what I think they're going to have to turn their focus to doing is finding that guy in the draft, which who knows where the Bears are going to pick this year. But I think that is going to be the number one priority this offseason, like finding that guy who can win one-on-ones, who can be just the guy that the offense has to worry about, because I still think they're missing that guy. I do want to give Poles some credit, Snyder, because I think Gervin Dexter's played a lot better. Tyreek Stevenson has really turned it around. He has held down the fort without Jalen Johnson. He's played at an extremely high level. These are guys that Poles drafted that are playing a lot better. So I definitely want to give Poles some credit. It hasn't been all bad. Yes, there's been some pretty poor investments in free agency, but ultimately, I think a lot of the guys that they drafted, you have to feel pretty encouraged about. Kyler Gordon has been a stud. Brisker, I think, is playing his best football. I'm not sure Brisker will ever be like, again, a game-changing safety that I'd want to go out and pay like top of the market dollar. But Tyreek Stevenson's playing well. Gervin Dexter's playing a lot well. A lot of those early investments on the defensive side of the ball are playing their best football with Dennis Allen.
Yeah, definitely give credit where credit due there. Again, you see TJ Edwards, how impactful he's been a snag in free agency. He was kind of like a diamond in the rough find. Same with Andrew Billings there. Like they've really, and same with Kevin Byard too. Those 3 guys have been a plus on the free agent. Like he's been awesome in the back seven. I know Tremaine Edmonds is definitely overpaid, but I still like him. I do like what he does. Yes, he's overpaid. Yes, he was not a victim, but like he was a product of what Matt Eberflus needed there. But again, I'm not mad with him there. It's just the defensive line just kind of been the disappointment. But then when you even take it back to the offense, I mean, you add Rome, you add Loveland, you add Burden, the trade for DJ Moore, you bring in Tooney, you bring in Jackson, you sign Dahlman, you draft Darnell Wright. Like him as a drafter early on had actually been really well in the early rounds. If you want to really nitpick Ryan Poles, it's just kind of been disappointing in rounds 3 to 5. And it is for most teams, don't get me wrong. But you wish you could at least get like a couple starters. I don't think we have one in round 3 to 5 during the Poles era. Right now, this far, not one.
Yeah, most definitely. I think he's gotten a lot of crap over this season because of how poorly some of those big additions have played. Like even the offensive line, I don't think they were playing to the potential that they should have been after all the investment. And there was people who had doubts. Like there was non-Bears people who had doubts about, okay, like they just seemed like they threw a lot of resources at this offensive line, but like they overpaid for most of these guys. I had doubts about Jonah Jackson. Some people were not the biggest Drew Dahlman's fans, and they thought he had his limitations and stuff like that. But I think through 2 games, through after the bye week, this thing has come together about as well as it could have. And you just hope to see that continue. You just hope to see that the running game continue to have success, and then the passing game follows suit. So there's obviously things to clean up with this team. It's never going to be perfect. I think Ben Johnson said like there's always going to be things we want to improve. But the two biggest things we wanted to see improve after the bye week were the run game and just the defense in general. And I think we've seen those things improve in spades, like better than I could have ever hoped. And that's a really, really encouraging thing. And the Bears, again, they have a pretty favorable schedule here for the next couple of games. So we just need to see them continue to build upon what they're doing and get the passing game on track. Center, I know we have qualms about the defensive line and guys who can win their matchups, but really what I think is going to come down to the Bears being a legit team to worry about this season is the passing offense figuring itself out. And I'm still hopeful it can. So that's what I'm going to be looking for moving forward. And yeah, this was a good win, and we just need to see the passing game continue to grow.
Yeah, and I believe it does, right? It's going to grow with the connection, getting a better feel for the offense, and getting everything there. So again, I think, a lot of these wins have been kind of ugly. Very thankful for 4-2. I'm not upset about it by any means, not complaining, but it's just exciting and it leaves you optimistic that like you're winning 4 games in a row, but there's still room to grow. And they're the first ones to admit it. Ben Johnson, you said DeAndre Swift, even Caleb, like they all say like, hey, like this thing isn't even like running as smooth as we want. And, if it can get better, I mean, how can you not feel excited about that?
Yeah, it's really exciting because the potential, the bones of this is really enticing. Like it's something I do want to buy into. And I am. I just want to see things get hashed out in the passing game. And again, I think with time and just, I think Ben Johnson also just getting a better feel for where Caleb is succeeding. I think it's only going to get better from here. So, Senator, other than that, I think we summarized this game pretty well. Is there anything else you want to add before we get out of here?
No, I think we covered it all. This was a long one. Huge matchup next week against the Ravens. I think Lamar Jackson is expected to be back. We're going to be excited. That's going to be a challenge. I almost want Lamar Jackson to be back to see what this Bears team is made of, right? Like,
sure, because if he's not back, I don't really fear the Ravens whatsoever.
Right. Isn't that like weird to say? Like, yes, like your win probability is obviously higher without Lamar Jackson. But I want this fucking Bears team to get like tested, and I think they did. Like with Jaden Daniels and the Commander, like that was a statement win. Now let's see you shut down Lamar Jackson, come away with a win. Now you got the league on notice. Now you're getting that respect. Like I almost want to see that and have it as another statement win, or just see how they can play against them. So again, very excited for that matchup.
I'm also very excited. This is basically a playoff game for the Ravens. I mean, it's as must win as it gets.
Right.
Yes. Random says we need Lamar out. I mean, yeah, that would be, I think, most favorable to the Bears winning. But I kind of agree with what Steiner said. I think if the Bears were able to beat the Ravens without Lamar, that would definitely send a statement. And I'd definitely be a lot more encouraged with the credibility of the Bears, even though I do think like there are elements of them that are credible. I just think that I'm still kind of in wait and see mode to just how serious I think the Bears can be in terms of making a postseason run and stuff like that. They're coming along, but I definitely think there needs to be some improvement. So I agree with you there, Snyder. He really doesn't want Lamar to play. Hey, I understand.
I'm not saying you're wrong about that. I just want to see what this team could do against a premier team and just a premier matchup, and be like, it would just feel so much better. But yeah, I know you can't disagree with that, right? Like obviously the end goal is making the playoffs. It doesn't matter how the hell you get there. So yeah, I agree. It's just one of those, I don't know. I just want to see them win against a premier team and quarterback.
I'm really curious to see the Vegas line if Lamar does play, because the Ravens weren't playing well even with Lamar. So I'm sure they'd still be favored. But I'm curious to see like what Vegas thinks of the Bears and ultimately what they think of the Ravens as well. But yeah, it would be easier without Lamar. There's no doubt about that. It's not like we're saying that we need Lamar to play. If he didn't play, I wouldn't be too mad. But
it's not like we're saying, damn, Lamar, like
right.
We're not saying that. It's just kind of
most definitely. All right, y'all. Well, until we are back to preview that Ravens game, keep it real and bear down.
Bear down.